The luxury world just hit a sudden standstill as Rolex's main warehouse, the hub that controls the flow of its most sought-after watches, has stopped all operations. What this means is a full stop at one of the most critical hubs in Rolex's global supply chain, and the implications are massive. Timepieces that were once within reach are now disappearing. To put it in perspective, Rolex produces roughly 1.2 million watches every year, with the United States alone accounting for nearly 30% of global demand. When the nerve center of that network goes dark, even temporarily, entire markets can shift overnight. Waitlists grow longer, secondary market prices spike, and dealers are left scrambling to fill orders they can't access. No one outside the company knows the full story yet. Is it a bold, strategic move, a logistical emergency, or the first sign of a major shift in Rolex's market approach? Whatever the reason, this isn't business as usual. So today, we're uncovering the truth about the warehouse shutdown and what it might mean for prices, availability, and the future of one of the world's most coveted luxury brands. Stick with us. The truth behind Rolex's shutdown. It is not unusual for journalists and watch fans to talk about times when Rolex factories have stopped work. But these pauses in operations have been linked to specific events in the past, especially global crises like the COVID-19 pandemic that affected many industries everywhere. Understanding those real cases helps explain how and why such pauses have happened in the past. In March 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic started spreading rapidly in Europe, the Swiss government declared a state of emergency to protect public health. Switzerland was among the countries where the virus was spreading quickly, and authorities introduced strict restrictions to limit the spread of the disease. In response to this situation, Rolex announced that it would temporarily close all of its Swiss watchmaking factories for a short period. Rolex's production sites in Geneva, Bienne, and Crizier were closed starting on March 17, 2020, with plans to stay shut for at least 10 days. The letter explained that the company decided to close its facilities to protect workers, their families, and the community from the ongoing public health crisis. It also noted that the closure period might be extended depending on how the pandemic evolved. These closures were not unique to Rolex. Other major Swiss watchmakers, such as Patek Philippe and Hublot, also temporarily shut down their production plants at roughly the same time. The Swiss government's emergency measures included restrictions on movement, cleanliness protocols, and closures of non-essential businesses, which made normal factory work very difficult or unsafe. The length of Rolex's factory closures ended up being longer than the original 10 days. In reality, as the pandemic continued to spread in Switzerland and beyond, the company remained closed for several weeks before it slowly began to resume operations. When production finally restarted, it did so with strict safety and social distancing guidelines to protect employees at work. During this period, Rolex's manufacturing output was reduced. According to industry reporting, the shutdown of production for nearly 60 days resulted in a major loss of manufacturing time. One report estimated that Rolex lost roughly 16.4% of its annual production time due to the closures. This translated to a large number of watches that were not made during that year, and it affected the supply that dealers and customers expected. Due to the reduced production during the closures and the time it took to restart operations safely, the effects were felt across distribution channels. Many authorized dealers reported that they had fewer watches available for sale in the months and years that followed. This was especially true for highly sought-after models that were already in short supply before the pandemic. These temporary closures were not because Rolex wanted to stop making watches or because the company was in trouble. They were public health responses to a global emergency that affected many different industries and countries. Rolex, like many other businesses, made the decision to pause production to protect the health of its workforce. When Rolex finally reopened its Swiss headquarters and watchmaking facilities, it did so gradually rather than all at once. The reopening was coordinated with Swiss government regulations to ensure that workers could return under safe conditions. This meant that production did not resume at full speed immediately. Instead, the company put health and safety first. In the years following these pandemic-related closures, Rolex continued with its normal business and operational planning. While the temporary shutdown did reduce the number of watches made in that particular year, the company continued producing watches after operations resumed. and it has pursued expansion and investment in its manufacturing capacity in the years that followed. These closures, while rare in Rolex's history, show how even the most prestigious and steady-running companies can be affected by global events. They also demonstrate how brand leadership can respond with a focus on employee safety and compliance with public health mandates. But contrary to the rumors, Rolex has been planning something huge for the future. Future expansion plans. Rolex is one of the oldest and most respected watchmakers in the world. Even though some people online talk about supply problems, the real story is that Rolex is actively expanding how it makes watches. In recent years, the company has announced plans to build new facilities and boost its production capacity so that more watches can be made and delivered to customers around the world. Rolex's approach to production is careful, long-term, and based on very precise engineering, which means its supply chain is very complex and carefully managed. The brand currently makes the majority of its watch parts and complete watches in Switzerland, and all of that production happens in several dedicated locations. The company's existing plants include 4 primary sites. In Geneva, Les Acacias, Rolex develops new watches and assembles them. In Bienne, the company makes the mechanical movements. This means the internal engine of the watch that makes it tick. In Plan-les-Ouates, Rolex produces the cases and bracelets where the parts of the watch come together. In Cherbourg, the brand focuses on dials, gems, and ceramic components. These 4 production sites work together like a finely tuned machine. Each site specializes in a specific part of the watchmaking process, and many parts are created by hand using traditional techniques that require great expertise. Rolex's own sustainability report confirms that these facilities are highly integrated, meaning Rolex controls most stages of production from start to finish. Even though Rolex has these major sites, the company knows that demand for its watches is extremely high. Many models are hard to find at authorized dealers, and waitlists can be long in many regions. To address this situation, Rolex has launched a multi-layered plan to expand its production capacity and ensure a stronger future supply of watches. At the heart of this plan is the creation of a 5th major production facility in Bulla, Switzerland. This new facility is not yet operational, but Rolex has publicly announced its plans and even released renderings of what the site will look like. The Bulla factory is expected to open in 2029 and will be a key piece of Rolex's long-term production strategy. Bulla is located in the canton of Fribourg, which is a different region from the traditional watchmaking districts of Geneva or the Jura. Rolex acquired around 100,000 square meters of land there and has submitted building plans that show a large campus with several buildings dedicated to production and administration. The project is estimated to cost around 1 billion Swiss francs, reflecting the brand's desire to invest in future growth. The Bulla facility is designed to be efficient, environmentally mindful, and capable of handling a significant amount of watch production once it opens. The campus layout, building materials, energy systems, and environmental planning all signal that Rolex is building for the long term, not just to meet today's demand, but to prepare for decades of future growth. However, because the Bulla facility will not be fully ready until 2029, Rolex is taking intermediate steps to increase output sooner. Before the main factory is complete, the company has already started using temporary production facilities in the same region. These smaller sites will help Rolex begin making more watches in the short term, ahead of Bulla's opening. One of these temporary sites is in Romont, where Rolex has taken over a former industrial space to set up new production lines. Rolex is training a team of recruits who will start by working there, and over time, that team could grow to between 250 and 300 workers. This temporary workforce will later move to the Bulla facility once it opens. Another temporary facility is located in Villaz-Saint-Pierre, where Rolex is also preparing to start production soon. Additionally, a recruitment center near Bulla is helping the company hire and prepare the workforce needed for both the temporary sites and the future Bulla manufacture. These sites are part of Rolex's plan to build capacity gradually, instead of waiting for one large facility to be finished. These intermediate facilities are important because they allow Rolex to begin increasing its output much earlier than 2029, potentially as early as 2025. This step-by-step approach is typical for very large companies that need to manage high demand, train specialized workers, and avoid overwhelming their supply chain. Training skilled workers is also part of Rolex's production strategy. Many traditional Swiss watchmaking tasks require years of training to master, and Rolex has been actively recruiting and developing talent through these temporary sites. This workforce development helps the company balance its need for quality with the need to increase production volumes over time. Meanwhile, Rolex's existing factories keep operating at their regular pace. These plants are still responsible for making the core watch components: movements, cases, bracelets, dials, and final assembly. Their role does not stop while new facilities are being built. Instead, they form the backbone of Rolex's production system, and the new sites are designed to support and expand that system. In the broader view, Rolex's production expansion efforts show that the company is not slacking. Rather than shrinking its manufacturing footprint, Rolex is investing heavily in expanding its production network to ensure its watches remain available in larger numbers over the long run. This growth plan includes both temporary and permanent production capacity increases, all geared toward meeting rising global demand. However, that is not all that has been happening. Dealer drama, global store changes. Rolex has sold watches through third-party authorized dealers for most of its history. These dealers are independent retailers that Rolex carefully selects, trains, and supplies based on strict criteria. Authorized dealers are not owned by Rolex, and they sell and service watches on behalf of the brand. Customers often go to these dealers to see, try on, and eventually buy a Rolex watch. This dealer network is central to how Rolex brings its products to market. In late 2025, Rolex made a major strategic move by acquiring Bucherer, a large Swiss luxury watch retailer with over 100 stores worldwide. Some people on forums and social media immediately began speculating that Rolex planned to ditch its long-standing authorized dealer network and sell directly to customers through its own retail stores instead. Those theories, mixed with rumors and claims that Rolex is taking over distribution, sparked a lot of talk. To address these concerns, Rolex's CEO, Jean-Frédéric Dufour, spoke publicly about the brand's strategy at major industry events like Dubai Watch Week and Geneva Watch Days. In these talks, he was clear that the brand does not intend to abandon or replace its authorized dealers. He said that the dealer network will remain the primary way Rolex watches reach buyers, and that the acquisition of Bucherer was meant to add to the network, not supplant it. Rolex will continue to rely on its authorized retail partners, which include long-established independent dealers in cities around the world. These partners help represent the brand in diverse markets and maintain the relationship with clients at a local level, something that Rolex leadership explicitly stated is important to keep. Even after the Bucherer acquisition, the plan is to grow the ecosystem and strengthen it, not eliminate it. However, because the brand demands very high standards for how its products are presented and sold, some dealers have lost their Rolex authorization in recent years. Reports from industry trade publications and independent sources describe how luxury retailers that do not meet specific requirements have had their contracts ended by Rolex. When a dealer loses its authorized status, it means that particular retailer no longer has the official license to sell Rolex watches. In some cases, dealers who had carried Rolex for decades were told they must renovate or upgrade their facilities according to strict guidelines or risk losing authorization. Those changes have led to some long-time dealers dropping out of the network, and in a few cases, closing entirely because Rolex was a major part of their business. Sadly, customers who were on waiting lists or expecting a Rolex from that dealer might be disappointed. In some online communities, people have discussed dealers losing authorization because they could not comply with new requirements, such as dedicating significant space and investment into their Rolex presentation. These kinds of dealer changes are usually business decisions made by Rolex and the retailers based on economic realities and brand standards. They reflect how Rolex preserve its brand image, ensure consistent buyer experience, and work with partners who can support its strict retail expectations. Rolex has never guaranteed that every authorized dealer will have every model in stock at all times. Dealers usually receive limited allocations of popular models, and they must decide which customers get them. Sometimes dealers keep stock off the showroom floor until they decide which customer gets priority, and some of them have begun showing fewer watches on display because demand outpaces supply. In addition to dealer changes, Rolex has taken steps in the after-sales service area. Articles about the closure of service centers, like the one in Guangzhou, show that Rolex is consolidating where customers can send watches for maintenance. In some markets, official service hubs have been closed or reorganized, but this is a service network change, not a signal that the company has closed down production or logistics operations. Overall, confusion arose because the dealer network and service ecosystem are very visible to customers, and when they change, it's easy to assume something major is happening at the core of the business. But what is clear from reporting and official statements is that Rolex still depends largely on authorized partners to reach customers globally, and it continues to adapt how it manages that network in response to market conditions and strategic goals. This focus on dealer relationships and controlled distribution helps keep demand high, supports brand prestige, and ensures that customers have trusted local points of contact for buying and servicing Rolex watches, even if the system feels restrictive at times. But what if the company decides to stop operations entirely? How does it affect the luxury market? The influence of Rolex and its ripple effect. Imagine if Rolex, one of the biggest names in luxury watches, suddenly stopped making and shipping watches. Rolex is not just another company that makes watches. It accounts for a huge portion of the Swiss luxury watch market, and even influences prices in the secondary resale market. According to industry reports, Rolex makes roughly 1.2 million watches each year and holds nearly 1/3 of the Swiss watch market by retail value. Rolex's influence on the industry comes from the way it manages supply and demand. The brand deliberately controls how many watches it produces and how they are released to authorized dealers. Rolex's watches are assembled by hand and go through strict quality control, which naturally limits how fast the company can increase production without lowering quality. This careful production makes Rolex watches valuable to many buyers around the world. If Rolex suddenly stopped all operations in its main warehouse, even for a short time, this would have effects far beyond the company itself. First, the short-term effect would be a sudden decrease in the number of new watches being shipped to dealers. Rolex watches are already known for having long waiting lists, and authorized dealers often receive limited numbers of popular models. If shipments were halted, those lists would get longer, and dealers may struggle to fill orders they had promised to customers. With fewer new watches entering the market, the secondary market, where used and pre-owned Rolex watches are bought and sold, would likely become even more active. Rolex watches often sell for near or above their original retail prices on resale websites because demand usually outpaces supply. This resale demand exists partly because Rolex's scarcity signals value to buyers and collectors. In a scenario where new supplies suddenly stop, collectors and buyers who want a Rolex would turn more to the secondary market. This would increase competition for pre-owned watches, potentially pushing resale prices much higher. Even watches that were less popular before could see value jumps simply because they would be the only available option for buyers who don't want to wait years. Reports show that Rolex models have historically commanded high premiums in resale markets, and that scarcity is a major driver of this effect. But the impact wouldn't stop with individual buyers and collectors. Watch industry analysts and dealers pay close attention to Rolex performance because it often sets trends for the broader luxury watch market. A sudden halt of operations today would likely create a supply shock that would spread through the entire industry. Dealers might hold back other brands' inventory, waiting to see how long the Rolex interruption lasts, which could slow sales of other luxury watches as well. The effects would also likely show up in market statistics that track luxury watches overall. Analysts use these reports to gauge consumer interest and economic health in the high-end watch sector. Rolex's performance is a major data point because of the brand's size and influence. If new supply disappears, but demand stays the same, it could contribute to volatility in watch price indexes, or metrics that track average prices in the secondary market. Price indexes could rise suddenly, leading some buyers to delay purchases. Another way a major operational halt could affect the market is by changing how dealers manage inventory. Like other luxury brands, Rolex mainly sells through a network of authorized dealers. If Rolex operations stopped, dealers could receive no new allocation at all, forcing them to adjust their sales strategies. Some dealers might increase prices on existing stock, while others might try to attract attention by offering services or alternative brands. This could redraw parts of the market temporarily, as dealers adapt to the sudden change in Rolex availability. Collectors and investors might also rethink how they value other luxury watch brands. Rolex is often seen as a benchmark for stability and long-term value in the watch world. When Rolex resale prices are strong, it boosts confidence in the market for other high-end brands. But if new Rolex supplies stopped, some buyers might shift their focus temporarily to brands like Patek Philippe, Omega, or Cartier as alternatives. Those brands could experience a surge in interest and resale prices simply because Rolex isn't available as an option. Economic conditions beyond the watch industry could also be affected. Some investors buy Rolex watches as alternative assets, treating them like collectibles that hold value over time, similar to art or classic cars. If Rolex production suddenly stopped, the perception of Rolex watches as investment assets could strengthen, leading some financial analysts to adjust forecasts for luxury goods as a whole. Increased interest from investors could even change how pricing works across global markets. The broader cultural impact would matter too. Rolex watches are often associated with achievement and status, and they play a significant role in luxury marketing. If Rolex suddenly stopped shipping new watches, celebrity endorsements, sponsorships of high-profile events, and luxury advertising that features Rolex timepieces might change. The absence of new products would shift promotional focus to existing models and other brands. People who follow luxury trends closely would take note, and media coverage could influence consumer perception of the entire luxury segment. Rolex operations on its own highlights how global luxury markets are interconnected. Rolex's supply chain includes sourcing of precious metals and materials, specialized manufacturing, skilled labor, and global distribution. Disruptions in any part of this system can affect how markets respond. Rolex's careful supply management has a purpose: to balance desirability with availability. So a drastic change like an operation stoppage would test that balance and reshape parts of the industry for both producers and buyers. Therefore, Rolex's role as a market leader means that changes in its output affect more than just its own brand. They reach outward to impact the entire industry and consumer expectations. Meanwhile, it's quite interesting how the company has been able to stay on top of the game all these decades. Let's check out their secret. Inside of Rolex's secret strategy. What makes Rolex different from many other companies is not just how well it makes watches, but how it runs its entire business. The way Rolex manages its products, markets, people, and future growth shows a clear and strong corporate strategy that affects everything from design and quality to how customers see the brand. Understanding this strategy helps explain why Rolex operates with such control and why its decisions influence the entire luxury watch industry. One of the core elements of Rolex's strategy is its deep commitment to quality and excellence. This goes beyond making sure watches keep time well. It means that every part of a Rolex watch is designed, developed, and produced under strict standards. Rolex controls most steps of the manufacturing process, right from producing its own gold alloys to machining, assembling, and finishing parts in-house. This approach is known as vertical integration and is rare in modern manufacturing because it requires huge investment and expertise. Rolex's own corporate materials stress that this independence allows the company to protect its standards of precision and performance better than if it relied on outside suppliers. This long-standing pursuit of quality is connected to a guiding philosophy that Rolex has built into its identity over decades. The word perpetual, which appears on the dial of many Rolex watches, is not just a design detail, it is a reflection of the company's philosophy. It symbolizes continuity, long-term vision, and enduring value. The company was started with a clear vision of making watches that combine technical precision with lasting reliability. And that sense of purpose still drives how Rolex thinks about growth and innovation today. Rolex's strategy also places a very high priority on protecting the brand's prestige and image. The company rarely discloses financial details or internal numbers, and it operates with a level of secrecy that is unusual for a global business. Being privately owned allows Rolex leadership to focus entirely on long-term stability, controlled growth, and maintaining the aura of the brand. This strategy protects Rolex's reputation as exclusive and elite because it avoids short-term moves that might undermine value in exchange for immediate profit. A big part of this protection involves how Rolex deals with counterfeiting and gray markets. Because Rolex watches are so in demand, they are one of the most counterfeited luxury products in the world. Fakes can be very difficult to tell apart from genuine pieces, and that puts customer trust at risk. Rolex has created advanced anti-counterfeit technologies, strict legal actions against counterfeiters, and education efforts to help buyers identify real watches. These efforts are part of a larger strategic goal to keep customer confidence high and ensure that the value of Rolex watches remains strong. Rolex also focuses on managing where and how its watches are sold. The company uses a selective distribution strategy, choosing authorized dealers carefully and avoiding mass market channels. This strategy controls how the watches reach customers, which in turn supports pricing consistency and keeps demand high. Even when economic conditions shift, Rolex's careful control of its distribution network helps prevent sudden price drops or overexposure that could weaken the brand. In recent years, Rolex has taken additional steps to influence the pre-owned watch market. Reported business news shows that Rolex has launched an official Certified Pre-Owned CPO program. In this program, authorized partners find used Rolex watches, inspect them carefully, certify them under Rolex standards, and sell them with a warranty. This effort does two things. It gives customers confidence in purchasing a used Rolex, and it helps reduce the appeal of uncertified resale markets, where fakes and speculative pricing are common. Beyond watchmaking and sales, Rolex's corporate strategy includes a focus on sustainability and responsibility. The company has set formal environmental goals and is working to reduce its carbon footprint, improve material traceability, and incorporate recycled materials into products. For example, Rolex has reduced the use of petroleum-based plastics in packaging and is improving how it sources and recycles precious metals like gold. These moves respond to increasing consumer interest in sustainability and help the company align its luxury image with responsible business practices. This broader view of sustainability reflects a growing trend in luxury markets. Customers today, especially younger buyers, are not only interested in quality, but also in how a brand treats the environment and society. Rolex's investments in sustainability, such as setting emission targets verified by third-party frameworks, shape how it engages with global issues like climate change, material sourcing, and waste reduction. This kind of strategy helps Rolex stay relevant in a world where consumers care about more than just product performance. Another strategic factor influencing Rolex's future direction is shifting consumer preferences and competitive pressures. Reports from watch industry trends show that younger buyers sometimes seek different types of designs and values from watches. Some studies suggest a growing interest in smaller case sizes and emotional value over purely technical prestige. Rolex's leadership has publicly stressed the importance of building deep relationships with customers and adapting to changing tastes while preserving the core identity of the brand. Rolex's strategic choices around production growth, dealer relationships, pre-owned certification, sustainability, and brand protection are all part of a coordinated plan to keep the brand strong in a changing market. The company's vertical integration, where nearly every step from design to final assembly is handled internally, gives it control that few other watchmakers have. This autonomy allows Rolex to preserve traditional craftsmanship while investing in new ideas and sustainability. Rolex continues to balance heritage and innovation. Its historical achievements, like pioneering the Oyster waterproof case and the perpetual rotor self-winding mechanism, remain part of its story, while the company also embraces environmental and market challenges of the present. This blend of history, quality focus, and modern adaptation positions Rolex as more than just a luxury watchmaker, makes the company a powerful player in global luxury industries, capable of steering trends rather than just responding to them. If this breakdown changed how you think about luxury, let us know in the comments. Do you think there's any reason capable of causing Rolex to shut down operations? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button, subscribe so you never miss our next deep dive into the hidden dynamics of wealth, status, and the brands desperately trying to capture both.